Chris Watkin here today with John Hards, who was the boss man for Countrywide Residential Lettings UK. John, how did you convert Countrywide's lettings proposition, which when you joined was kind of like a
secondary,
the
tertiary,
poor part
relative,
of the family,
back of the office, tucked behind the admin,
to something which basically, VCs were throwing hundreds of millions of pounds at you.
Yeah. Well, actually, it started a long time ago. So I worked at Crystal Palace in estate management. So I had that background. The business I was working in, Eastman and Dennis, was eventually sold to Nationwide. Various names, but actually the owner was Nationwide. They had purchased, the business I ran had 3,000 units.
This was what, in the 80s?
In the 80s.
Because Nationwide and the Halifax were having big checkbooks, weren't they?
They were.
But they were buying it not for the lettings businesses, they were buying it for the life insurance.
Yeah,
mortgages, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Nationwide had purchased really about mortgages and life insurance, etc. They ended up with this bit of management and lettings, old-fashioned lettings.
Because when they were buying stuff, they were buying firms with fine art departments.
They were.
And multitude of sins.
All sorts of things.
And lettings could have gone that way, couldn't they?
We could have been disposed of. So they purchased the business, wanted me to go and do surveys because I was a surveyor, and they didn't really understand the value of the estate management. We had block management, we had all sorts of things at Crystal Palace. However, I had gained 9 years of real expertise working with a fantastic team there. When it dawned on them that they had a client account money floating around everywhere with landlords screaming, saying, "Where's my rent?" Someone came to me and said, "Oh, I hear you do some of this." And so I went around the UK picking up account systems and taking them in centrally. It was at Nationwide, that was really the beginning of how it started. And I think it was about 88, 89 that.
Because was it Nationwide turned into Hambro, turned into Countrywide? Is that
well, Nationwide acquired Countrywide, Hambro Countrywide, in 94. And so that's when I joined. At that stage, I'd gone from running one single branch in Crystal Palace. Well, actually, I merged a few up, got a bigger branch. And then we had about 50 branches. Nationwide had acquired businesses with lettings in at about 50 locations. So we put it all together, a team of us. It wasn't me, but a team.
That's the lettings part.
And it was a guy who's lasted at Countrywide many years, Philip Turner and Nick Royal. So they ran North and South Agency for Nationwide, and I ran the lettings for Nationwide.
And were you the poor relations of?
Always the poor relations. So we were. So when I first met Harry, it was at a board meeting a couple of days after the acquisition in 94 of Nationwide. Famously bought it for £1. Lettings is all bent spoons and complaints, is what they thought. So that was, I remember the words and thinking, that's a bit of an insult. It's not a bad business. It's cash positive. We always get our fees. So he said, we've got a small lettings business in 13 branches of Man & Co on the South Coast. It's a nightmare. You've got 13 weeks to sort that out. If you can't sort it out, you're going back to Nationwide because they want you to go back there. And if you can, we'll keep you on. So it had that sort of feel about it when I first joined. I mean, it wasn't difficult to sort their business out. It was training, and it was getting people whipped up into a team. And anyway, that worked very well. And eventually we merged with the block management business, Countrywide Commercial, inside, and gradually started opening branches and gathering branches. We got to a point where we had, I can't remember the turnover. I'm going to say it's 8-10 million turnover. No, maybe 15 million.
Yeah, but that was then 50. I mean, 50 is a lot of money now, but that was, rents were much lower, and
it was a lot of money then. It was the sort of.
How many branches did Countrywide eventually have?
Lettings branches, we had 460 at the end, and 140 million turnover and a 40-odd million profit EBITDA. So it's a very big business. So when we got to a stage where people got interested in lettings, and we started opening our own or taking branches on our own.
Yep.
There were locations in the country where we could not share. It got too big. We were successful. And
so when did the private money come in and start allowing you to start writing?
2008. I think probably 2006, 2007, we were talking about doing this, and I met people like McKinsey in Victoria and Apollo and some of the equity houses, and they were very interested. They immediately saw the value.
Because this was the time when 2008, 2008 when the housing market had gone a little bit tights
Well,
up.
we'd already bought by then, taken Countrywide PLC off the stock market and borrowed lots of money and financed it. But really, and so Oaktree came along eventually because we got into a bit of trouble. It was refinanced by Oaktree, who were a tough lot. However, they saw the merit, and then they said, well, carry on.
It's income, isn't it?
It's income. But we had acquired already. I had been acquiring a few businesses very gently. The first major one was Ashton Birkinshaw in Kent. Had 7 branches. It was extremely well run by a guy called Graham Harrison. We had Francis Birkinshaw and Gerhard, who were running it with Lindsay Ostovich and Philip Cook. So there were some lovely people in there, very professional business. And I remember Harry and Anthony Eakin saying, are you sure you want to do this? Big risk. It's quite a few million. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I want to do this. Anyway, it transformed everybody's thinking about how it could work, because we were able to get the synergies back from it. So we doubled the profit within about 6 months on that single business. Can you do that some more, John? Of course, the private equity were looking at the numbers and can you do that some more? Yeah, of course we can. And off we went. So we acquired about 150 businesses, a few books in there, but
a few million quid.
It was a lot of money, yeah. But the value was immense because we were it was all accretive. So the profits went up all the time. So everything we did, we made sure we could get more out of it. Synergies, back office, accounting, administration, we could sharpen it up, we could get training in, more productivity from it, make staff feel better and valued. And of course, that's how it went. So
and now look at, we're in now 2025, we're in the summer. You wouldn't know this.
You wouldn't know it, no.
Yeah, we're on the Cornwall coast.
A damp evening in July.
Wow.
It's never like this. It must be.
I haven't seen that. It must be the
always sunshine here.
There you go. You get hardly anything for a resi sales business, but when you're getting 1.5 times turnover, and I'm hearing in some places knocking on the door of 2, there aren't many businesses.
No,
full stop.
No, and we could probably have paid twice turnover for some very nice businesses. I'm sure we did. But pretty much we always looked at what we would get out of the business and how we'd manage it in and what staff were there, because you want to keep the staff when you buy these businesses.
You do.
So how can we make it more profitable by joining with us? Because if it wouldn't, it was debatable whether we want to buy it, but that profit margin would dictate how we would purchase. So we never went on once or twice turnover or 1.5. We went on EBITDA, what EBITDA we could get from it all the time.
And we're in 2025 moving forward. You've got the likes of Lomans, you've got LRG, whatever they're called this week, bless them, and they are just buying stuff up.
They are.
It's getting, when I say even better or even worse, depending on which angle you're looking at.
I mean, there was a time when they were probably paying more than they should have been, but I think today, in the last few years, they've been paying the right sort of money for these businesses. They add on. You can expand your network. You can cover locations you haven't got. You can give people opportunity. They're also senior people that wouldn't go anywhere in lettings, but they can with this sort of arrangement.
Indeed.
And we used to, they always say when we bought something, oh, well, you won't want us. We did. We so did. And some of the people we acquired, Graham Harrison came with Ashton Birkinshaw, wonderful guy, and he became an MD at Countrywide, and many of them did.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a letting or estate agent and you're looking to sell, make sure that your lettings business is really top notch. And probably we'll look at some other videos on how to ensure that you can get the best price for your lettings business. Thank you for your time today, John.
You're welcome.